Everyone. This is about MLA Handbook 9th edition. We are continuing our discussion on 5th chapter, the list of works cited. As we get an overall view of the core elements in MLA as a container, they get it as a container, as a diagram, they give us the idea how to list out. Actually, I told you to leave. Yeah, when you take this part, it's about should appear in a list at the end of the paper. Actually, this is about the work citation list, and it should appear as a list at the end of your paper. We know you have a model of the old thesis writing works, printouts. I gave you that models for you, and as an endnote, you have to add this list of works cited. Okay, but the collection of the details should not be kept for the end. That's why we have to make it in a very we have to be very keen and careful in collecting the details and the method of doing it. They have given it as a columnar diagram where you have to make in a notebook. You can do it in this way. Please be on time. So you can either you can leave a space, you can print it out, and every text, in the case of every text, you can write down the elements you collect from each text whenever you refer in that way, or you can write it down and you can leave each page. You can keep one page each for each text, so that it will be so clear at the end of your creating list of works cited, that entry, that whole list, it will be so easy for you to do. So you can opt in any way, you can do it in any way, but this is a way of formatting of entry. You can do it in this very systematic way as well. Okay, so major facts common to most sources, like author, title of source, title of container. What is meant by that? Title of source may be the short story or poem that you refer. From that you take. And in that case, the title of container may be the text, the whole text, which compiles the short stories or poems together from different authors. So that texts and their ways, the methods of getting published, it varies, and accordingly only we can see make these elements, arrange the elements we collect from different texts. Even when we had a visit to the library, we saw how many texts, how many different ways different texts can be given. It's not just or not always one text by one author, but numerous other ways, like sometimes it's edited work, sometimes it's compiled work, sometimes by two authors, sometimes by more than one or two authors. So this is the way we have different multiple ways of getting things published. And that is just about print medium. And who will talk about the electronic resources, e-resources, which are going to be the major part of reference, especially in this pandemic time, when we have limited access to libraries outside our universities or even our hometown. There are libraries open, but definitely we have a limitation. We have this limitation, at least for the time being. And so definitely we have to see the way an electronic resource, how we can collect such and such details, such major details in the case of an electronic resource as well. So MLA handbook will take you there as well. So 5.1. And so sometimes there is no title given. Use your own description of the work as the title. Sometimes it may be a journal article. You don't have the details regarding title or anything. Sometimes it's from a piece of paper you get, but you feel that this is so relevant to my thesis or my topic of analysis, my research question. There is a very important connection that I can draw with this particular piece of information. So you would like to add that as well. And in that case, you cannot leave it just by saying that I don't find out the core elements as described and as preferred by MLA styling, MLA format. So that there is option. There are options for that as well. Be on time. So here A work containing another work can itself be contained in another work, such as article published in a journal and contained in a database. See, sometimes containers can be more than one. If it is a if it is a printed text in print format, it's just the container is the text itself. Sometimes you just think about how that can be contained by another source, another container can be there in that case. Think about a journal that is publishing the article. That article is the main source. Sorry, where is it? Yeah, that article can be the main source. And then it is published, it's this journal that carries that article may be the first container. And even already that journal is part of a database, like some electronic platform, such as some blogs or something, or part of a blog. Then you have to acknowledge all those. That location you may be able to find out immediately, because when you search for a particular topic in a site, you have different formats available like URL, DOI, the link. We very casually we mention it as link. So what is it? Again, according to the details, according to its format, we can definitely identify whether it is a URL, universal resource locator. There is a permanent locator marking the locator. Sometimes we have other types of entries, but at least we can identify that this is not a print text from that I access this. I have already accessed it from a journal, which is already contained in another database. Most often, this happens with some e-resources, electronic resources. Sometimes you are just accessing a PDF, but that PDF is already, you take it from another linked resource. So sometimes at least you have to acknowledge that resource as well, because definitely they prefer that. They have already uploaded some study materials. Some blogs or some other publishers, some other sites would like to publish and would like to be acknowledged for the materials, resources that they provide. And you just write down the name of the author, so that the next container from which you accessed it is completely erased or nullified. It's not good. Hope I'm making sense. ഞാൻ പറഞ്ഞത് ഇത്രയേ ഉള്ളൂ. നമ്മൾ എടുക്കുന്നത് ഒരു ആർട്ടിക്കിൾ, ആ ആർട്ടിക്കിൾ ഓൾറെഡി ഒരു ജേണൽ നമുക്ക് തന്നെ അറിയാം, അത് പ്രിന്റ് ആയിട്ട് കാണാറുണ്ട്. ചിലപ്പോഴൊക്കെ ജേണൽസ് നമുക്ക് പ്രിന്റിൽ കിട്ടും. അങ്ങനെയാണെങ്കിൽ ഇറ്റ്സ് ഓക്കെ, നമ്മൾ ആ ജേണലിന്റെ പേര് മാത്രം എഴുതിയാൽ മതി. അറ്റ് ദ സെയിം ടൈം ഈ ജേണൽ തന്നെ ഓൾറെഡി ഒരു ഇലക്ട്രോണിക് കോപ്പി ആയിട്ടാണ് നമുക്ക് കിട്ടുന്നതെങ്കിൽ ആ ഡാറ്റാബേസ്, അതായത് അതൊന്നുകിൽ ഒരു ബ്ലോഗിന്റെ പാർട്ടോ അല്ലെങ്കിൽ എവിടെയാണ് നമുക്കൊരു ഗൂഗിൾ സെർച്ചിൽ പോലും നമ്മളെ പല സൈറ്റുകളിലേക്കും പല അഡ്രസ്സസിലേക്കും ഈ അഡ്രസ്സിലേക്കും നമ്മൾ ലീഡ് ചെയ്യും. അപ്പം അങ്ങനെയുള്ളിടത്ത് അതൊക്കെ നമ്മൾക്ക് ആഡ് ചെയ്യാനുള്ള ഒരു ഫോർമാറ്റ് ഓൾറെഡി ഉണ്ട്. നമ്മളിപ്പോൾ ഏറ്റവും സിമ്പിൾ ഫോർമാറ്റ്, വി ഹാവ് ഓൾറെഡി സീൻ എ വെരി സിമ്പിൾ ഫോർമാറ്റ് വേർ ഇറ്റ്സ് എ നെയിം ഓഫ് ദി റൈറ്റർ, മാക്സിമം of its reversal, then about the title of the source, means like then if it is a novel, it's just about the novel's title in italics as a book length publication, or if it is a short story, just put it in double quotes. But അതിനേക്കാളും അപ്പുറത്ത് എന്തുണ്ട്? അതൊക്കെ ചിലപ്പം പല ഓൺലൈൻ മാധ്യമങ്ങളിലൂടെ നമ്മൾക്ക് കിട്ടുന്നതാണെങ്കിൽ അതിനെയും കൂടി നമ്മൾ അക്നോളജ് ചെയ്യണം. അപ്പം അത് കൃത്യമായിട്ട് അതിന് ഒരു ആഫ്റ്റർ എ പങ്ക്ച്വേഷൻ ദർ ഇസ് എ ചാൻസ്, ദർ ഇസ് എ ഫോർമാറ്റ് ഓഫ് ആഡിങ് സച്ച് URLs or DOI, such web addresses in MLA handbook. We will come to that. We will definitely come to that discussion. അത് നമുക്ക് ഏറ്റവും ആവശ്യമുള്ളതായിരിക്കും അല്ലെ? കാരണം നമ്മൾ ഇപ്പോഴത്തെ ഒരു ഡ്യൂറിങ് ദിസ് സച്ച് എ പാൻഡമിക് സിറ്റുവേഷൻ ക്രൈസിസ്, we have limitation in accessing libraries. അവിടെയാണ് നമുക്ക് കൂടുതലായിട്ടും അത് വേണ്ടി വരും. So how to do that in a proper way, we will come to that point. Then we have to give the reader additional information, like in the works cited list entry generally follow the same guidelines like capitalization of words, names and titles. What all methods that we follow in our usual formal language using situations. In our daily life, that writing, written communication, how do we use that capitalization in the case of proper nouns? in the case of names of places. Then styling of titles. So exactly in italics or in quotation marks. Italics in the case of what? Italics in the case of what? What kinds of works? Book length publication. Book length publication, it's italics. But double quotes in the case of? Double quotes in the case of? Short stories or articles or works that are not independently published as text. Text length publications, we mean. In the case, just take for example, Gerontion is a poem by T.S. Eliot. It's a very short, a small book. I'll say, take for other example, very familiar poem. You may take Solitary Reaper. We know for sure it's not published as a text. It's not a text. So whenever you mention the name of Solitary Reaper, it should be in double quotes. Double quotes only. Okay, but at the same time, The Wasteland is a poem. At the same time, Wasteland also is another poem by T.S. Eliot. But the problem is, it is published, yes, it's a very lengthy one. There are versions of it. There's version of it which is published as an independent text length publication. So if you are accessing such a version of that text, of that book, of that poem, you can definitely put it in. You have to put it in, you have to make it in italics itself. At the same time, we have this 20th century verses as compiled text. You're familiar with that. Sometimes at least we bring that to the class to access some of the prescribed forms. There, you inside it, you can see the wasteland as the poem. There, you do not have to put it in italics. Italics. The name of the title you can put. Definitely, you can make it in double quotes only. So already we know it's the name of a poem. But sometimes, some versions, you come across Eliot's that poem individually collected, individually published as a text, as it has its own basic length and all. It is a very short poem. You cannot make it as a text. There's still limits of requirement for you to go for a print publication. It should be minimum 20 more than 50 pages and all. That's a requirement. Even now it is there. ഒരു പോയം ചെറിയ പോയം ആണെങ്കിൽ അതൊരു ടെക്സ്റ്റ് ലെങ്ത് പബ്ലിക്കേഷൻ ആയിരിക്കില്ല. അപ്പം എലിയറ്റിന്റെ ഇതേ പോയം തന്നെ വെരി റയർലി ദിസ് ഹാപ്പൻസ്. Most of the poems are part of some compiled collections and all. Compiled collections. But here it is about, yeah, sometimes at least we come across such ways, and then we have to think accordingly whether to give that in italics or in quotation marks. Then, treatment of names of persons, including how to identify the element of the name to alphabetize. Alphabetizing number ranges. So, all these details according to the situation, according to our resource locating all these ideas, it occurs. Whenever it occurs, we have to go and refer this text. Then core elements, again publications are internal. The element name is not always literal. That is publication date. We discussed all this yesterday itself. Like very simply, but author element, Morrison Tony. As we are already aware of her real name, Toni Morrison, we know how it is reversed according to MLA styling. But at the same time, I mentioned that it can be a writer, an artist, or any other type of creator. Not just writers. And some of you asked about the pseudonyms or stage names or online names or some very popular pen names like Stendhal, Mark Twain, Lady Gaga. Find out their true names, and they are more famous in these names, the selected pen names, than their original names. Sometimes a label must be used to describe the role of the person or persons listed in the author element. That is it. Very important. Most often we mention that idea with the title contributor. Sometimes, see, mainly about editors. We selected such books, texts. We know for sure they are not the primary creators, primary writer. Either they are compiling, they are collecting different types of artistic. Sometimes it's a collection of short stories from different writers, sometimes different authors and their poems. But they're editing the work. Editing is a very important work. By various authors, they can collect and edit, making it in the language elements, checking for errors. That's what you mean by editing. And that's very important. It's a very important contribution to academics mainly, because they are making it error free. So they shape the content of the volume. Even making something aligned properly, is also part of editing. And think about a text which is not properly arranged, aligned. We find it very difficult. Sometimes there are texts with a lot of illustrations and all. And if you're not arranging all those things properly in the places, fitting places, that looks awkward. So editors and other contributors who can do all these editing works and all, they also shape the content. But we know for sure they are not the writer of all the essays. And we took such texts and we saw that how each and every work has different other authors. But these are their contribution also is very important. So you can name them also. You can acknowledge them also with the title, the caption, editor and all. Label is given like editor. Sometimes it is translator. Hmm. Okay, so this is the way you can make things clear, because this is about this particular text is edited. This is by this person who edited it. Okay, and we have to acknowledge in that way. When a work is published without an author's name, when a work is published without an author's name, do not list the author as anonymous. Never do that. Think about Beowulf. Immediately we have to begin the entry with the work's title, Means, if it is a text-length publication, yeah, Lazarillo de Thomas. And this must be the name of the publisher. This is the year of publication. You leave the author's element, never author's detail, because you don't have it, because it's anonymous. In the case of English text, Beowulf can be a very famous example. If you are quoting some lines from Beowulf as part of your writing, you cannot cannot represent it as anonymous, because you don't know the writer. Maybe a ballad, about a story, an epic length publication, but we couldn't locate no one could locate the name of the writer. Okay, so that is the way you have to do all these things properly well. Now, author, where to find it? With some examples. Instead, we went to library and took that photography. They have given some figures, some they have attached a certain by title, page of the book, author's name. Sometimes it's a see. Now, just try to identify. Prominently displayed. Most often, this is prominently displayed in a work. Most often, that's prominently displayed in a work. Every time it must be highlighted in that way. Okay, so here you can identify who must be the author. The sympathizer is the name of must be the name of the text, and this is the name of the author. So it's near the title of the text. Most often on the front cover page itself, we can find at least the name of the title of the text and the author's name. For other details, most often we have to go to the copyrights page. Rarely, at least, we find the title, at least with a logo and all. Sometimes it occurs with the publisher's title, publisher's name, sometimes. But most often that doesn't happen. Okay, and now you can see here another text, Mexican Literature in Theory. Should be the name of the text. And is it about a single author? No. Maybe a lot of essays, Mexican literature in theory. Maybe a lot of essays on different literary works. We don't know, but again, we know for sure one thing, that is, it's edited by one person. Different essays may be collected by one person. Now, part of the title page of an edited book. This can be part of the title page of an edited book. This is an edited text. It's given in that way. If it is an editor, definitely it must be given in this way. Otherwise, how should we know? How shall we know? Then another, one another example. Three Strong Women, a novel by Mary Ndiaye. I don't know the pronunciation. Yeah, and must be silent maybe. But one more contributor is, it's a contributor is very important here. It's translated by John Fletcher, because this may be in another, in a language which may not be accessible, which is, see, you know for sure English is a global language. It has its own relevance in access, in giving accessibility to many of the literary works. But why do we have this world classics in translations? Many of the classic languages, some of the languages are outdated or accessible to only an elitist minority. So when you have the translations in some of the languages, like global language like English, you have wide reach, you have readability and accessibility. You get a classic Latin text you would like to read, but we may not be able to understand anything. So that is the importance of translation. Even when you take something about Malayalam, our own language, our own mother tongue, only a very few people may be have see, even inside India. Think about the other states. The people belonging to other states may not be able to read anything unless and until they know the basics of our language. So if it is translated into English, it gets more reach, wide reach. So here it's the way translation becomes very important, not just in the case of English, but any language of your choice. If you have accessibility of a text of your choice to have it in your own language, it has its own validity. And the translation also becomes, translator also becomes the very important contributor, and the translator's name, both are shown. Most often in the case of most of the translated works, you have the title of the name of the main writer as well as the translator's name. You cannot uh, separate that separate them in the case of a translation, more than the case of, more than what you see me in the case of an edited work. You have these two persons name together, written down together, or printed down together, in the case of translated works. Okay. Yeah. And again, you see, look at the first page of an essay in a scholarly journal. Prominently displays the author's name near the title. Now you come across, you look at the way some electronic internet resources look like. May not be always an internet resource, but most often, sometimes at least we come across some blog publications and all, where you have author's name here immediately, see, connected with or given very near to. Prominently it is displayed near the title. Title you can definitely identify, like Unknown Futures, 19th Century Science Fiction in Spain. We may not be, there is no zero chance for us to mistake it for the author's name. Title of an article, we can identify with our basic knowledge. So near that title, you can find out the author's name. Very near to that. Most often, especially in electronic resources, you can find out this is again Lawless, Geraldine Lawless. Sometimes we may have the confusion. Is it the name of a person? We can just Google. You can search in the internet, so you may get a get some a few more detail about the person, so you can make sure that this may be. But there is a format of printing or typing or publishing such articles in internet resources. That's why they show it with a diagram, say this particular figure itself, instead of saying something. This is why this MLA handbook, this new edition, is with a lot of pages. We have examples shown as such. Minute examples for everything, each and everything they have given here. Author's name, title of article, So now there is a they say that this is the consistent way of doing it, and most of the publication medium and publishers follow the same format. Okay. Now one more example. An online news site displaying author's name near the article title. Author's name is given here. Title of the article is here. Online news site, maybe with a lot of other details, like you can find out the search address and all sometimes. Or many other details, we should not be confused, but title of the article. In the first example, we saw the author's name above the title. Here it is below the title of the article. But that should not be taken as an inconsistency, but at least somewhere near the main title, main heading, the title of the article, you can see the author's name. Let us continue our discussion with one more example. Here it is with a journal article in an online archive showing the name of the article's author. Online archive showing the name of the article's author. Try to find it out. It's like shadow animals. So here author's name, Julie Riddle. You can definitely find it out immediately well. Artist's name. It's a digitized image of a painting. Sometimes a painting may be described in your text, in your writing. Why you don't understand the importance is, we may be always at a graduate level, we may be thinking about, taking a few texts, my own primary source, then something immediately connected with that. But if you have a proper, true, creative, and research bent, you may think about all these possibilities. Like sometimes you come across a painting and you draw connection between your idea, your ongoing idea in the mind. Then you try to connect back with your thesis main research question. So you may be in want of identifying and locating and citing such a resource. It's published on a website. So such web address, everything is to be collected before you are quoting this particular image or writing something about this image. You may be mentioning this person's name because it's the artist's name given here who drew this picture. And even every detail like oil and fabric, framed, unframed, nothing is to be given, but at least the artist's name you have to find out immediately. Then author, how to style it. That is our next idea, next main topic, author. One author. We saw it already. When an entry begins with the name of an author who has family name or another family name or another surname, begin the entry with the surname. Is it new to you? No, we have already started practicing with a lot of examples so that the entry can be alphabetized under this name. William Shakespeare becomes Shakespeare, William. Family name or surname means the second element. And surname with a comma. So follow the surname with a comma and the rest of the name as presented by the work. What we have been taking, we have learnt with examples is given as theory here. That's all. And the author element with a period. We know it should be with after a full stop. You have to start with the next element. Unless a period is the part of the author's name already appears at the end. Unless a period that is part of the author's name already appears at the end. There should not be two full stops together. If it is an initial or something that occurs at the end, you can write down your initials with a full stop or without it. So what is given there in the text, we don't have the provision to change. Their name, how to write it, whether there should be a comma or whether there should be a full stop or not, a period or not. Should not be full stop that we mention here, but a period. That particular sign itself, full stop sign. So sometimes we have that initial differences in initial. You just take the number of students, the names of your own classmates. You can identify how many different ways your spellings, your surnames or even initials are given. Some are with the two names, some are with the one name and an initial, some with the period in between the name and initial, some without the same, some without initial at all, some without any other part for the name at all. So it occurs in a different way. That's our personal choice, as it is with anyone. So here, if it is a period already occurring at the as part of that, then you don't have to put a full stop. There should not be a period. Otherwise, you have to. So here, a few examples. Baron, Naomi S. To identify whether this full stop is given by us or not, we have to know the name of the person as it is given in the text. Naomi S. Baron is the name actually. Naomi S. Baron. So most probably S, that full stop must have been there in between. Try writing down that real name. So how it is reversed. Then you will understand how it is reversed. Naomi S. Baron becomes Baron, Naomi S. So that's a very different kind of a name. Like we have have the first part, then an initial, then another name. So you take the surname as the first part in the work site at list entry. അല്ലേ അങ്ങനെയല്ലേ ചെയ്തിട്ടുള്ളത് യെസ് ആൻഡ് then what this is the name of the article from this writer that we take for quoting or paraphrasing, citing the idea. And so what is the title of that essay that we take immediately from this person? It's redefining reading, the impact of digital communication media. Some article written by this person. And after that, you come across the italicized part in it. There is an italicized part. What does it signify? This particular article is taken from a text named PMLA. And it is not a very simplified version of a medium. It has volume and number. See, I told you, sometimes journals are published in this way. With in between the interval of in a year, sometimes 4 times in the interval of some 3 to 4 months. So January 2013, and even the page number. If you want it, these come as the additional elements, supplementary elements. There is a special reference about such details in MLA handbook. PP, page number from 139 to 200 of this particular text has been accessed to get idea about Baron's essay. Sometimes maybe the this particular text with this article, with this essay or article, whatever, the page number may be from 139 to 200. Or even, we cannot always say that from 193 to 200 are the page numbers in between which this essay is printed there in this text. Sometimes it can be the number of pages exactly accessed by the author of the research article from this person. Either it can be the essay, the essay can be in this PMLA handbook volume 1828 from 193 to 200, or another possibility is that sometimes sometimes the page number starts redefining reading this essay maybe from 190 to 200, but the writer accesses only from this particular page range. So that also is possible. That is according to the situation, according to our citation that we have to select. There is no consistency or there is not an inflexible way about any of these elements in this regard. Okay. Another kind, which can be very simplified one that we usually take, for example, Jacob's Ellen. Jacob's Ellen can be Ellen Jacobs in real form. So here in works cited list entry, it becomes Jacobs, Ellen, full stop. Ellen Jacobs becomes Jacobs, Ellen, full stop. And as it is given in its italics, it's just one text by one author. The pleasures of reading in an age of distraction. The pleasures of reading in an age of distraction. As it is in italics, we can definitely identify that to be a text-length publication by the single author. Nothing such as editor, nothing such as et al. Or and another person's name. So one author, one text, and published by Oxford University Press, Oxford UP. That is the way you have to get that entry. UP can be shortened. You should learn how to write down University Press, though it must be given in that format in the real text. When we take it as the part of our works cited list entry, we have to shorten that as it is approved and listed out by MLA handbook. Then after comma, you have to put the year of publication, full stop. So here, writer's name, reversed order. So you are separating those two parts with the comma, then a period, then after the title of the text, if it is a text-length publication in italics, full stop, then then the publisher's name, then a comma. Please note down, then a comma, and only after the year of publication, then you can add a period again. Okay, so that is the way. One more example, you may take another example. Kincaid, Jamaica. Jamaica, Kincaid becomes Kincaid, Jamaica in the reversed order when you mention that in works cited list entry. Kincaid, Jamaica. Then one more another example for another resource like with double quotes in history must be an essay or short story or article in history. I don't know for sure, that's why I tell you. But in double quotes means it's not a text length publication. And you have to note down here in history, where does the full stop occur? Before you are ending that, you are enclosing it in double quotes. Very important to be noted down. It should be after the double quote or the before the double quote. Very important. And then you can see the another title in italics means this particular article is contained inside another book length publication called Kalalu. Comma, volume, number, spring. Very detailed reporting like volume number, spring, the time of its publication, everything is given as such. So maybe a journal or something because of that. Otherwise these complications do not come. Then page number from 620 to 26 means what? 620 to 626. If it is 620 to 701, it should not be 01, as this is the same the position of the 100th position. After that this is the same, so here it can be given in that way. Okay, so this is all these are approved. Number, how to give numbers, how to list out numbers, all these are given. പറഞ്ഞ മനസ്സിലായിട്ടുണ്ടാവും എന്ന് വിചാരിക്കുന്നു. 620 മുതൽ 626 വരെ ആയതുകൊണ്ടാണ് അങ്ങനെ. 620ാമത്തെ പേജ് മുതൽ 740ാമത്തെ പേജ് വരെ അവരെ ആക്സസ് ചെയ്തിട്ടുണ്ടെങ്കിൽ നിങ്ങൾക്കത് 740 എന്ന് മാത്രം എഴുതാൻ പറ്റൂല. Then you have to put it like 740 itself. So very rarely this occur, but we have to know all these are part of MLA handbook. Okay. Then two authors. When a source has two authors, include them in an order in which they are presented in the work. In the order. You don't have the provision to select your favorite one and get their entry, their name as the first. No. Reverse the first of the names as described above. First of the names as described above means what? Reversing the first name with the surname, follow it with a comma, and the word and, very important, and the word and. Immediately see, look at the examples. That's the best way to do that. And give the second name in the normal order. Second name in the normal order only. To include a label such as editors or translators, add a comma after. If those are contributors like editors or translators, you just add a comma and then add the label. After their names as given here, you add that. After the second author's name and then add the label. See, take for example Doris Michael and Louis Edrich. So here, Doris Michael. The person's name must be Michael Doris. and Louis Erdrich. The person's name is exactly the way it is, not reversed. രണ്ടാമത്തെ പേര് ഒരു തരത്തിലും നമ്മൾ മാറ്റാൻ പാടില്ല. പക്ഷെ എന്ത് ചെയ്യണം, ആദ്യത്തെ ആളുടെ പേരിന്റെ കൂടെ കൊമ, then you have to add the word and. It's very important and must that you add the term and in between. If it is just two authors, more than two authors, we have another method. Then immediately after that you can add the title of the text in italics, as it is a book-length publication. Then HarperCollins Publishers. HarperCollins, one of the leading publishers, one another important and leading publishers. HarperCollins Publishers, comma, year of publication, then full stop. After the name of the publisher, you have to put a comma only. There should not be a period, but only after the end part, that's the year of publication. Most often we end with the year of publication. Rarely we have to add this page numbers, or if it's preference based, you can add the page number. Gilbert Sandra M. It's a very important and famous writer, Sandra M. Gilbert. Sandra M. Gilbert. So that whole part is taken as the second part, and the last part of the name is taken for the first part of the entry. Gilbert, comma, Sandra M, full stop, comma, and Susan Gubar. Susan Gubar, not at all reversed. Both of them are editors in the case of this text called The Female Imagination and the Modernist Aesthetics. In italics it's given. Then the publisher's name in a very lengthy way, Gordon and Bridge Science Publishers, comma, 1986. Those names of the publishers which permit us to shorten that may most often get listed out in MLA handbook. I told you in the 7th edition and all Oxford University Press we used to mention with OUP. But in the 8th edition itself, it began to be reversed with Oxford UP. You should not write Oxford University Press, but look at HarperCollins Publishers. Now you cannot make it P. In the past, it was there was a provision as such, I remember. P. Instead of publisher, it must be P. But now it is not there. Okay. So that's all with the second two authors. And now you can just look at the figures given here, given in this way. Think about the text. Name of the text is The Crown of Columbus. Michael Doris, Louis Erdrich. So here it's given in this order. We cannot take as per our choice. So Doris Michael. But the other one in the same order. HarperCollins Publishers. I told you, sometimes this happens. Publisher's name also given in the first page or the title page. So this is the title page of book showing the names of two authors. The works cited list reverse only the first author's name. Already instructed. Right. So another possibility is with three or more authors. Three or more authors. Three or more authors also we discussed last time. We took a lot of examples there. Do you remember? Very easy actually. Three or more authors means more than two. Reverse the first of the names as described above and follow it with a comma and abbreviation et al. Et al stands for what? And others. Italicize et al only if it is referred to as a term, as the example in the sentence shows. Don't be confused. In parenthetical citations and works cited list entries, the abbreviation should be set in Roman. Normally, not italicized. Means Sharon Rita et al. After comma. Sharon Rita, comma. So here it's not a full stop that we put, but you have to add the term et al. Abbreviation et al. You have to put a comma after this. So from where does we take this Rita Sharon? Sharon Rita. The first from the list. This is a text, the principles and practice of narrative medicine. A lot of persons together may be compilers. So here names of 8 authors are shown. But we cannot always list out everyone in that entry. So we have this provision to make it et al. And others. One person and others. So how do we choose from this list? The first person only. First name as given in the text. We don't have other task of finding out the better name or preferable name or anything. Or the person who is truly contributor or who is very important as a contributor. Enough. Okay, so only the first followed by the abbreviation et al. Appears in the works cited list entry. So we finished off for fifth chapter. We finished off our discussion up to the point number 9. Point number 8. Sorry, point number 8. Three or more authors. Main details are already collected in this way, and other parts I will discuss either in some available online sessions, or otherwise we will opt for the discussion in the classroom itself. Thank you so much for joining.